How do you learn who you really are? It's not found in books. It's found on the battlefield. What's up, warriors? Welcome back to the Battlefield of the Mind. Today, I'm with William Branum, who is a Navy SEAL, who is helping also, just like we do, pull guys out of hell, not just figuratively, but also literally. So, William, welcome to the Battlefield of the Mind, brother.
Thanks for having me on here. I'm stoked to be here.
Awesome. All right. You already know the drill. You've done this a bajillion times. Who the heck are you? So they go, I know this guy.
Yeah. So my name is William Branum. I spent 26 years in the SEAL teams. That's actually a little bit of a little white lie. I spent 26 years in the Navy, and 23 of those years was in the SEAL teams. I'm from a little town outside of Meridian, Mississippi. Meridian, Mississippi is already a small town. If you go outside of it, it's even smaller. I joined the Navy the year between my 11th and 12th grade of high school in the delayed entry program. Joined the Navy, took the SEAL screening test because I wanted to be a Navy SEAL before anyone knew what the hell a Navy SEAL was. There were no books, there was no movies or anything else back then. There was no internet back then. And I failed the SEAL screening test the first time I took it. It landed me on a ship in Yokosuka, Japan. I eventually got off that ship into SEAL training, and then, the rest is history. And then, my transition, I'll say that, everyone talks about becoming a Navy SEAL as like the hardest thing you could do. And I would argue that becoming a civilian was really the hardest thing that I ever did. That transition from military to civilian life, hardest military mission I've ever been on. And quite honestly, I'm still on that mission today. I don't think I've ever said it that short and concise in my life.
Well done, dude. Mission achieved. All right. So you're not wrong. And I've been talking to so many vets where like one of the greatest losses they've ever had is their identity, their purpose, their drive, their units, their friendships, their routines. Like just the day you go from military out, especially career guys. I've had guys where their entire life is like a mess as soon as they walked off. Like they thought we were good. I thought I was good. But like when every decision that we've ever had has been given to you, and now it's time to go do anything that you want, right, it's overwhelming. So can you maybe even just help some of the people like while you're doing that transition? Because I don't think people really get that struggle.
Right. So, I kind of try to equate it to, have you ever seen that Avengers movie where Thanos like snaps his fingers and half the world's population vanishes?
Yep.
So that's pretty much what I felt like. And when I use that analogy, like so many dudes are like, yes. And it doesn't even have to be the military. I've talked to entrepreneurs. I have a friend who used to be a drummer for Slayer and Megadeth, and he wouldn't take the jab, and so he couldn't tour with the band anymore. So he's like having to figure his own stuff out. Professional athletes, we all go from, we have this mission, we have a purpose, and we have a team one day, and the next day we have no mission, no purpose, and no team. And we're like, what the hell do we do with our life? And having to start over. And so there's like this financial piece, being in the military, you have a steady income, you have insurance, you have benefits, you all have all these other things. And then when you're the day that you step out, the day that you're no longer in the military, you have no more paycheck, you have no more team, those benefits are gone. You have to start figuring out a whole bunch of other stuff. And so what I tell people now is, you should plan your exit from the military. You should plan your exit from a business. You could plan your next life transition like it's a military operation.
Yeah.
You should actually go out and do rehearsals. You should plan it. You should brief it to your friends, your family, to people that are around you. You should then go out and do like a practice retirement or a practice life transition, and then go execute it. And then, it's not going to go as smoothly as you think it is. It never does. But I like to call it a dirt dive because, that's one of the things that we do in the SEAL teams is we dirt dive everything and, poke holes in the plan, ask what if as many times as you possibly can. And then you at least have thought of or considered contingencies that you could run into. And I didn't do that when I transitioned. And I also didn't execute my plan as violently as I should have. Had I done that, I would probably have not struggled as much as I have struggled. However, I would not change the fact that I have struggled, because those struggles are the things that helped make me who I am today. They're the things that made me become the man that I am, to get on the actual, to actually help me figure out what my true purpose is. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today had I been successful right out the gate.
Right.
I probably would have lived a more mediocre life.
It's a lot to take on, though. I'm glad that you brought it up to the point where it's not just military. You talked about the drummer for Megadeth and Slayer, and you talk about even like you said, during that time where people were told you get the jab or else you lose, and people who said, I don't believe in that yet. It seems unsafe, so I won't do it. How many people during that shutdown period lost their careers, lost their businesses, lost their livelihood? And during that time when people were isolated, and then you see men, and this is why we work with men, our identity is strongly routed in what we do. And this is something that like it goes unnoticed pretty often, because if you look at each other, like as soon as you meet a guy, like, hey, good to meet you, bro. What do you do is the first question.
Yeah.
What do 100%. You do? And usually that's how we identify each other. Like, I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, I'm a carpenter, I'm a tradesman, I'm I'm in the Navy SEALs. And like, you feel proud too. Like I am this.
Right. I worked really hard to get that.
Yeah. And then you don't have it anymore. And now you're almost like trying to stay off of what I used to have or I used to do. And that's tricky, because like now I'm really struggling to hold my identity, but I don't have any of the things that go along with it. Like if I had any type of practice that I had to get rid of. Now, it also revealed too, like how unstable some of our marriages were, because I saw guys lose their career and then their wives leave them because they're no longer the status or they're no longer the provider, with things that weren't even in their control.
Yeah.
And so this is where like
100%.
We have to somehow find a way to support these guys. What are some of the things that you're doing to help support some guys who need to have a new pack or need to transition or need a better way? How are you helping some of these guys out?
So I lost you for a second there. We froze. I'm not sure. I'm sure we can edit part of this out.
There we go. I think it froze up on us.
There we go. All right, we're good. We're back.
How are you helping some of these guys out who like need their direction or need a pack?
So I'm part of two men's personal development programs. One is called Man Made, where we help men become men again through epic adventures, a little unconventional. I think everything I do is unconventional. So we go out and we do really epic adventures. We do, some like kind of bi-weekly coaching programs. But so for example, 2 weeks ago, I went out and hiked the Grand Canyon rim to rim with a group of men. This is the second time we did it this year. The first time we did it, we actually saved a kid's life. So this kid, 18 years old, no father figure in his life, no man figure in his life. He's out trying to figure out how to become a man, how to navigate through life. And he's working at the Grand Canyon and decides he wants to hike to the North Rim and turn around and come back to the South Rim. And which is a very hard thing to do for, people of pretty high physical capabilities. And so I went with a group of, it was 13 of us, and we hiked to the far end of the Grand Canyon before we went up to the North Rim, and we stopped to use the bathroom and get water and kind of, put some more fuel in our body before we tackled that North Rim. And we found this kid in the bathroom, stripped down to his underwear, who was like, his clothes were soaking wet. He was deep into hypothermia. And had we not saved his life, he would have been dead. Had we not shown up when we showed up, if we'd have showed up like 4 hours later, the kid would probably be dead. And then we would have found a dead body in the bathroom rather than a kid that's almost on the verge of death that we, heated back up and, kind of brought back to reality. And then he hiked out. And then, so that was back in March. And then, so 2 weeks ago, we went and did the hike again up to the North Rim and took that kid with us. Trying to bring him into a group of men that will support him, to show him how to be a man. And so that organization is Man Made. And then right after that, I went out to California to work with one of my other kind of business coaches and mentors and friends. His name is Bedros Keuilian. It's a men's development program called the Modern Day Night Project. Very different. It's very kind of where we break you down, physically. We take you completely out of your comfort zone. Both of these things take you out of your comfort zone, but one, you kind of do it with men, and the other, you do it with men, but with other men kind of yelling at you. More boot camp, I guess, style. break you down and then build you back up at the end. And at the end of that, there's a 12-month coaching program with myself and other instructors of the project. So those are two of the things that I'm doing right now. I also have also do like business and leadership coaching. And a lot of times when I'm working with men and women, but most of my clients are men, in business and in leadership, most people think that it's about telling people what to do. And really, generally, what I end up doing is I end up working on the individual and helping them figure out like things that they're missing in their life. It's not about them yelling at people. It's about them becoming better leaders. And once they learn how to become a better leader, they change the way they think about leadership and running their business. They do a lot of other personal work in the process.
Yeah, it's a lot of pieces jumping around there too. And it's good to have the variety that us guys have for that too. Cause like, I know for what we do in the Warriors Way mindset is we focus a lot more on know thyself and then know thy enemies. And this gets into the fear, the doubt, the excuses, distractions, anger, depression, anxiety, denial, bargaining. It gets into all the pieces of how we operate and then knowing how to beat them and then going into battle with them. And so I do almost like if you were training to go into the cage or something, like, well, you better get some fundamentals and then know who your opponent is. And then we go in with a game plan. And so it's cool to see the different styles because I don't have them like do a boot camp thing or anything like that because I tear this thing apart.
Right.
And so this is kind of cool to see all the different ways that we can cross all these over to make it so all the avenues that guys have to go pick your style. Because can we call our fellas out for a second? We're fucking stubborn.
Oh, for sure. 100%.
Yeah, man, we're not going to get
I'm leading the way.
Yeah, right.
I'm leading the way in that. Yeah.
We don't take advice and we don't listen for help. And we don't even say we need help until we're in crisis. We just don't. Ask the doctor because we don't even make an appointment until you're like, okay, the shoulder's falling off. I should probably go in.
Yeah. There's so much truth there. And you know what? One of the things that changed my attitude about that was, I think do you remember that app Clubhouse when it first came out? So anyway, it was a social media app that was like voice only. And it was like, some people described it as a live podcast, like 24/7 live podcast. You could go in different rooms, different people would be in there speaking or whatever. You could do Q&A. And I was in one of the rooms that someone invited me into because I was trying to figure out like my message, my voice, who the hell I even was now. And there was a psychiatrist or psychologist. There was a shrink in the room. And so I decided to like, okay, well, let me start getting out there in the world and being somewhat vulnerable. And I'll talk a little more about that in a minute. But, I told her, I was like, I really hate asking for help. I don't like asking for help ever in my life. I never have. And I probably never will. And she was like, okay, I understand. So let me ask you a question. When someone asks you for help, how do you feel when you give them that help? I was like, oh, I feel amazing. Like I love helping other people. Like it's one of the things that makes me the most happiest. And so she said something that made me very angry. And so she said, why are you stealing that joy from someone else? And I was like, I can't talk to you anymore because you just hurt my feelings.
we do that same training. I'm like, how come you're the only one allowed to be happy then?
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And so, but it like when you reframe it like that, you're like, oh, maybe people do want to help me. Maybe I can be brave enough, have the courage to actually ask for help.
Yeah. And this is one of those things too. And this is funny because like you were Navy SEAL. Are you with your squad more dangerous or just one guy solo is more dangerous?
Oh, as a fighting force, as a unit,
you can't mess with the unit. Like, and this is one I make good jokes is I'm glad to talk to a Navy SEAL because it's one of the references I do. I'm like, you see a construction team building a skyscraper. You think it's just one dude going from the crane and then running down and then moving and then running over and grabbing them. It's not one dude. No, it's the team that makes that go. Yep. You watch a football team and you don't go like, oh, there's linemen and there's receivers and what a bunch of pussies. No, you go, no. And no one's ever said like, oh, the Navy SEALs are working together. Sissies. You're like, it said no one ever. Like, you can't fuck with that squad. And yet somehow when we're out here in the regular world, it's like you're supposed to be lone wolves. Chuck Norris, that shit.
Yeah, and this is funny because I have had this conversation recently. So there's this stigma. I posted on Instagram once upon a time something about, because there was all this toxic masculinity talk going around, and I'm like,
I'm actually curious too, because I don't know I keep getting different definitions, so I have to figure out what you're hearing too, because I don't know what that means.
I have my own definition, and also kind of masculinity and alpha, like being an alpha. Let's go with alpha for a minute, because that leans towards where I'm really going. I was listening to a buddy of mine talk. He's very smart. He has a great program. And he was talking at an event, and I loved everything he said except for one thing. And that one thing was, when you're in a leadership position, you're an alpha and everyone else is a beta. And I was like, I cannot, that doesn't work for me. And so I pulled him aside after the event, and I was like, hey buddy, so here, like, I love everything you said except for that one thing. And he was like, well, can you explain it to me? I'm like, yeah. So just think about me and my SEAL team. Let's just say that there's 50 of us going into a target in some part of the world, Iraq, Afghanistan, doesn't matter, Africa. And are you saying that the guy who's in charge is the alpha? So you have one alpha and 49 betas going into that target? Is that what your definition is? And he was like, oh, you know what? I never really thought about it like that. Correct. So being an alpha means that you have the ability to take charge when you need to take charge. It does not mean, but you also have the ability to allow someone else to take charge. That's leadership all in itself. Be ready to step up into that leadership position. Be ready to step up, ready to lead, ready to be that alpha. And it doesn't mean that if you're not in that leadership position, does not make you a beta. It still makes you an alpha. Like, we've had, people, men go down on the battlefield, men who are in charge. I had a buddy who stepped on a landmine in Afghanistan. He continued to lead, missing a fucking leg. He was still leading until we gave him morphine, and then, his cognition, declined, and so we had to relieve him of duty. But he was still leading men on the battlefield in a fucking gunfight while missing a leg. Alpha, he's in charge. That doesn't mean no one else was alpha. And so once we had to relieve him of duty as the leader, the next alpha stepped up and took his place. And so that's how it works. That's how leadership works. And then there's, when I put out, about alpha or beta, some people come back and they're like, oh, well, I'm a sigma. I'm like, what the fuck is a sigma?
I'm the 1%.
I'm the lone wolf. You know what the lone wolf does? That motherfucker dies. He dies of starvation.
I'll help you with the sigmas. Here's what they do. If a lion is a pack leader, the lion has his pack. That's an alpha. But the tiger hunts alone. That's a sigma. And a tiger is bigger and stronger than the lion. So that's a sigma. And these guys are like, I'm a motherfucking tiger. No, this is like the introverted version of an alpha, but usually can handle their own, but like don't like to get in the attention part of it. It's really interesting, the sigma thing. It's less than 1% is supposed to be this ascended version of the ultra mega introvert. It's a really interesting thing. It's not, everybody wants to be that, but it's not that common.
You know what? I'm an ultra mega introvert, and I'm not that.
Yeah. So I'm with you on the alphas. We do the same thing. I completely agree. My group is all alphas. We all have families. We all have, businesses. We all have things that we run. And we adopted a lot more of the black box thinking. And there's a book on this where it gets into the idea of an airplane has a black box. And if it goes down or if there's a problem with it, the information for what it is on that black box thinking, hold on a second. Black box thinking is like, there's a problem. It goes to all airports. Everybody gets to know, hey, there's an issue. Everybody get ahead of that issue. We don't want that problem on anybody's planes. That's like so we immediately are transferring information to all of us. Well, the alphas all get together, share alpha information that's working. This is what's working in fatherhood. This is what's working in business. This is what's working with my wife. This is what's working with this. And we convene all of this amazing information and then take it back to our own packs. Like each guy is an alpha in our group. All of us are either training to be leaders. And so it's a collaboration of leadership. And then we break and we all have to run our own pack. And so, like, who's the alpha? Just me? Because what? I started a group? I'm like, no, every guy in my group's an alpha. We just convene as alphas and then break once we've just leveled up together. I'm like, so well, there's only one alpha and just betas? I'm like, you didn't do your math right, because you and I hanging out together, you'll be leading because it's your turn, then I'll lead because it's my turn. But we're both like, I'm not a beta because it's your turn. What are you talking 100%. About?
Yeah. I mean, this program I just did this weekend with, as an instructor, when it's my time to lead, I lead. And when it's my time, someone else's time to lead, I'm going to step back and let them lead. And you know what? If I find the opportunity where I need to like step in and lead, they will step back and let me lead. But we're all alphas and we all know it. We're not concerned about someone else being more dominant or whatever. We don't care.
Correct.
Because we're comfortable with who we are and what the value that we bring to the table.
You're absolutely right. And this is where I get into like the alpha. I did an alpha talk on gorillas. And so I train my guys to be like alpha gorillas. And so I've done this talk multiple times where when they would study gorillas, they'd see these King Kong motherfuckers, this big silverback coming in and be like, whoa, and like you don't want to, like, listen, you seem like a very strong and capable man. Would you like to fight a silverback gorilla?
I'm going to go with no.
No, they're insanely powerful animals. They don't even lift, bro. They're just that strong. Like, it's a crazy powerful animal. And so, like, these gorillas, they thought that they were over the top alphas, over the top, like, kick everyone's fucking ass, King Kong style, and that's why they're so dominant. When they would watch what gorillas would really do, when they caught them in their natural environment, the silverback gorilla was only, pound my chest, like less than 2% of the time. Most of the time, the silverback was the encourager. Like, the little ones would always want to impress the alpha. And so, look what I can do. And he would be like, oh, good job, and giving affirmations and proud of you and good way to go, little buddy. I like it. Oh, and then there would be one that's hurt and the silverback would hold it and keep it consoled and keep it close. And like, whenever there was like nurture or encouragement or building up or support, the silverback took on that main role as a main support system, because a true alpha is building others up, not standing on others to put them down. A 100%. True alpha supports and encourages. And when you're talking about vulnerability, a true alpha can say, hey, man, I'm proud of you. I believe in you. Us guys even look at each other and go, I love you, man. That's my brother right there. I'd look out for you for anything. And this is what? Weakness? Get the fuck out of here. Yeah. But if somebody's going to come in and they want to see, like, you already know what the term is for if you mess with the gorilla, you fuck around, you find out.
You're going to find out, yeah.
You're going to find out. That's what we can turn that on. And this is where, like, I've talked to so many guys. You don't even have to be military. You can just be from abusive homes or the hood or some difficult environment. I call it growing up in Sparta. If you're calm and we're just sitting together, family's here with us and everything is good, and then something does pop off. Some guy gets up and goes, I'm angry and wants to hurt somebody. How many seconds or minutes does it take for you to go from calm, cool mode to action mode? What's the transition time you need?
Zero.
It's less than a second. I can go, the armor will be up and I'm ready to go within seconds, right?
Yeah.
Like,
pretty much immediately.
It's a snap, right? So then we have to like assess. If I'm walking around, I see guys who are so untrained in this, where they're walking around in their like steel plate or, old cast iron armor ready to Jason Bourne people every day. And I'm like, dude, like, if it happens,
you can't survive like that. You're going to be exhausted.
It takes you less than a second to nanotech that thing on. So why don't we just train to use it when we need it and then be like present in the present when we don't?
Exactly. Yeah. But you know what? I think we get stuck. We get stuck there as men. We get stuck there. I mean, I can only speak I can speak from more than the veteran community, but that's the community I know the most. We go to combat. We're always stuck in this parasympathetic nervous system, and we're always in this fight or flight. But I would argue that a lot of mine came from, a lot of it came from combat, occupational hazards, things like that. But others came from some not so awesome relationships. Maybe we had relationships that are very toxic. And so we always feel like we need to put our armor on and like we're ready to fight at any moment. And that's, that it will just debilitate you because, in real life, when we go into combat, we put our armor on and we go out the gate and we get ready for battle. But when we're done with that and we get back, to the base, we take our armor off, we strip down, and that's, part of like getting naked. We expose ourselves, we become vulnerable, we hit the showers, we do those things. And, if we're injured, we go find the help that we need to recover so we can start the next mission. We don't walk around and sleep in our armor and get up and, live in it. We only put it on when we need to put it on, when we're going into combat.
Absolutely. And this is one thing, this is why I was resonating so much, is we do a big thing on armor training. The same thing, the mental armor that we walk around with all day long. And like, that's why, you having the protector mindset, and so many guys identify with the protector, but they weren't really trained on how to use it correctly. You watch, maybe, like I said, I use Jason Bourne because he's like, I'm in the diner and I'm like, I know all the exits. I know that guy can carry himself. Most likely there's a gun in that car, and I memorized all the license plates. And you're like, I just wanted waffles, dude. Like, what are you doing? Like there's a thing.
I will say that I do some of that. Certainly not to that level. And because I'm just like, I don't have enough capacity up here, but I do go in and I will, if I'm, with friends or family or whatever it is, I'm going to determine where I sit in the restaurant.
Sure.
I'm going to always make sure that my front is to wherever the threat might be. It doesn't mean that I'm on edge all the time. But if something is going to happen, I want to be able to see it before anyone else. I don't want it to happen behind me.
Correct.
That's going to take longer for me to figure out what's going on, assess the situation, and then whether to armor up or not. Mm-hmm. So I will go in and I give a class on why it's important to be a protector, and I do a lot of kind of Colonel Grossman's theories of, or his metaphors of sheep, wolves, and sheepdogs, and kind of go down that whole thing, and then I give a whole worst case scenario thing. It's not suitable for public consumption, but it's more of a private setting, worst case scenario, where I watch men just start their crawl, their skin starts to crawl, whether they have families or not, and just because I want them to be thinking, like, don't walk around your life with your face stuck in your phone. Mm-hmm. Put your phone away, walk around. You don't have to be on edge, but at least if something happens, you can turn it on if it needs to be turned on.
Yes.
At least be aware of what's going on around you.
Yes.
You don't have to be at level 10. You can be at level 3. Totally fine. Mm-hmm. Don't be at level 0.
But also, like you said, don't lose your presence in the present because you're distracted all day long. And here's the thing I say often. Maybe it's a little Denzel Washington Man on Fire of me, but I'm like, there's only two kinds of guys. You're either trained or untrained. That's the only two kinds of guys we are. And so you either know how to do something or you don't know how to do it. Like, that's it. And so if you're choosing to be untrained and you're not going to raise your awareness, you're not going to learn how your armor works. You're not going to understand like just how to be able to navigate these dynamics without having to be turned up all the time. Like I've talked to guys who go to concerts and like, they always end up in conflict. I'm like, well, you walked in with your spiky armor on with a chip on your shoulder. You're the guy who's like seeking a fight and you're going to find it.
Yeah.
You're
always going to find what you're looking for. What are you putting out there in the world?
That's untrained. It's untrained, man. You can be calm and cool. And this is one thing. This is when I trained with a special ops trainer for it was 7 years, because the guy who trained me he trained SEALs, trained Rangers in combat, but then he found God and became a pastor. And I trained with him one-on-one for years. And so one of the things he said for civilian fights, he would start like this all the time, like, hey, slow down, man. Hey, we're good. But he was showing, like, when he would train us, this can go left or right real quick. Yep. Like, I can go either way. And so I've even seen guys who I'd meet who would be like you, or like the guys who I'm trained, and go, hey, slow down. And then we would both kind of laugh because you're like, I know what you're doing. Hold on.
Yeah.
These are two guys
you
trying to
put your hands up like that to me, and I'm going to step back. Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, okay, something. And then it would immediately get diffused quickly because you saw two trained fighters doing a very dangerous diffusing stance.
Right. Yes.
And so those are cool things, trained or untrained, where you see a lot of guys who are, chip on their shoulder, untrained, looking for the fight to be a protector. And that's not the alpha.
Correct.
Like you're not the alpha.
The guy who's out there. Yeah.
Smashing beer cans on his head and kicking people down and stepping on somebody in the office to get the promotion and, thinking that they're the best because they're hoarding everything for themselves, and I have the most money, I have the nicest car, I have the nicest suit, the biggest house, and that makes me the alpha. No, you have stuff. And I think that goes back to the beginning of what we talked about, where leadership isn't stuff.
Correct.
And so you saw guys who lost everything very quickly and exposed who you really are. And this is where we're getting into some of the parts where, like, switching back to civilian life, like, man, who I thought I was is now exposing who I really am. I don't know how to navigate other things. I don't have the tools for this. I don't have a pack for this. I don't fucking know what I'm doing here. And I can't use almost any of the systems that I had in civilian world. They don't speak that language.
But you actually can. You just have to figure out how to use them and make a plan. But I want to go back to that person, that non-alpha person that you were talking about just a second ago, of like smashing beer cans and being an asshole and whatever. Like, that's where this idea of toxic masculinity comes from. And let me be very clear with that. That is not masculinity at all. That's just being an asshole.
Yeah, right.
It's the toxic part of toxic, and it's not specific to men.
No,
the toxic femininity, toxic masculinity. It's just toxic. It's just being an asshole. And being a masculine man is about being just like what you talked about earlier, that alpha, that protector, that encourage, what were the words you used? I should have written them down. Where you like, they're the silverback. He's like encouraging other people. He's like nurturing. He's giving. He's helping. He's doing all those other things that are masculine. Those things that are, it's about love. It's about taking care of your tribe, your people, your pack. That's masculinity. Mm-hmm. Opening the door for your wife or your daughter, teaching your daughter how to, like, you're the first man that she will ever date. Like, you should be setting the example of what she should be looking for in a mate as she grows up, the kind of men that she wants to be around. For your sons, you should be setting the example of what they should aspire to be as a man. All of those things, that's what masculinity is. Mm-hmm. Not the beer bottle smashing, looking for a fight. That's not masculinity. That's just being an asshole.
Yeah. And this is funny too. Like, when the shame and judgment is pretty much my biggest enemies at the moment. And this is where it comes into the toxic judgments. But I think that you made a good point. The toxic traits are not gender specific. And I think that this is important this day and age, to say toxic femininity, toxic masculinity. We should just remove the polarization and just say toxic behavior.
Correct.
Because
Agreed.
That's not gender specific. This is just traits that people are taking on that seem to be universally breaking the golden rule. It doesn't matter if it's male, female, or fucking both. Like, it's just, this is behavior we don't like done to us, so don't do it to others. And if you're justifying, you're on the toxic team.
Correct. Yes. It's interesting. Jordan Peterson actually put out because he's a smart guy. He's got better words than I do, but he talked about that kind of toxic masculinity. I think he's the first person that I ever heard talk about toxic femininity, and the way that, masculinity is different than femininity. And, and the way that toxic behavior comes from women is different. That, the toxic masculine is like a lot of violence and things like that. The toxic feminine is also violence, but it's also more like,
it's reputation demolition.
More. That's it. Thank you very much.
Yes.
You're clearly much smarter than I am as well. I bumped my head a few times. So I like to say I have a Commodore 64 processor. So it doesn't go very quickly, or at least the words don't come out. I had another point, but we'll just I'll let you drive and we'll keep.
No worries.
Moving on
That's the way the women operate, and this is why I say shame and judgment is the weapons these days. And this isn't gender specific, but women do rate 3 times higher in negative emotions than men do, and they usually, if I look at the patterns for the way men and women operate more under denial, under excuses, and under blame. Men operate more under the denial aspect would be suppression, anger, and then we get into doubt, and this is where guys lean more that way. So there's more shaming for men, more blaming for women. Now, the way men tear men down is going to be more aggressive. It's going to be more loud. We're less agreeable. And so we're going to be more combative. Women will be a little more sly about it behind the scenes, and they'll do reputation demolition to destroy who the person is in society. They'll try and destroy who they are, which means the weapons are shame and judgment. And so look at the judgments. And this is where you'll start seeing that people are saying who is good, who is bad, who is right, who's wrong, who's toxic, who's good. Like, we're making up rules that are all subjective and calling ourselves correct based on my emotions or based on my, personal opinion. And these subjective standpoints are how people are controlling others, because someone like you is too difficult to take head on. So the best way to beat you is to make you self-censor or to make you feel ashamed of who you are, so that way you don't play. Again, right. when I do the survey for men and women, let's say you and I were racing and we have, 100-yard dash. Okay. Now let's say I'm 1 second faster than you and we have to race in 6 months. What is your game plan?
Oh, mine? If I'm faster than you or you're faster than me?
I'm faster than you by 1 second.
Oh, I'm going to work really freaking hard. I might even like play unfair and hurt you in some way. Oh, what if you blow out your Achilles? Oh, well, I win.
So would you try to injure me?
Well, I'm taking on the toxic trait right now.
Okay, good. So as far as
the masculine trait, I'm going to work harder. I'm going to do sprints. I'm going to do a lot of, because it's only a 100-yard dash, I train very specific to that event. I'm going to do a lot of power work. I'm going to do a lot of heavy work so that I can beat you off the line and beat you all the way across the finish line.
Most guys aren't trying to go in and do like a sabotage system. We're going to work harder to be better. Most men. It's very rare that you would hear somebody go, my goal is to, disable you. It's just not common, because you busted, you Nancy Kerrigan, that thing, you end up in jail.
That's the toxic trait, though. That's the toxic.
Correct.
So I was working that because that's what we just talked about.
Now you go into how do women compete. Now I've noticed a pattern with women, especially today. They want to win, but don't like to compete, especially when it comes into like equality. It's not equality. There's a very different thing. So I ask people, like, what is equal if we start going into, let's say there's a 4-foot fence and I have one person that's 3 foot tall, one person that's 5 foot tall, one person that's 7 foot tall, but they all have to get over this 4-foot fence. Should we make it so the 3-foot person has a 2-foot stairs? The 7-foot person has to get on their knees, and now everyone's 5 foot. Is that equal, or they each use their strengths to all tackle the exact same 4-foot fence? What is equal? Everyone's 5 foot tall, or everybody has the same obstacle? Which one is equal?
Right.
And this is where it starts getting a little bit more like where people will start saying, well, guys will go like, we all got the same fence. That's equal. But girls will go like, it's not fair that they're 7 foot and they're 3 foot. That's not fair. It's like they were born that way. So I don't want to compete with you. I want to win. Women will destroy the other person's reputation, talk shit about them, mangle them from society, get them kicked out of groups, destroy the way that they feel about themselves, create doubt, make them feel negative about their self-worth. And then once they're beaten down and out of the running, now I don't have to get better because you're so much worse. And you see this in the way women attack each other, even publicly, is to destroy who they are as a person, not beat them at the competition, but I'll beat you as a human being. Now, this is done by shame and judgments. You're not good because, did you see what she's wearing? Did you see how she is? Oh, she thinks she's so great, but she's not. These judgments that are put on are an authoritarian position created from negativity to make it so the other person doesn't fit in, so they remove themselves from the game.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Warrior, thank you so much for being a part of the information that we have. And you're part of our story as we are a part of yours. It's very much an honor to be able to connect with each other. If you want to know more or you want to get started with working with me or working with our warriors so that you can begin your path to authenticity, strength, leadership, and accountability, this is the way. Together, we are way stronger. Now you get to choose. Do you go forward or or keep doing what you've always done. If you stay where you're at, hey, click on some of the stuff and follow what it is. We got motivational stuff. We've got podcasts. We've got more things. Just subscribe and do the stuff and we'll keep you updated. But if you want to start going in, start jumping into what our programs offer and start your journey and being the hero in your own story.
It seems obvious.
I needed this probably 13 years ago. I needed but I probably, you know what? I probably would not have listened because I have
you weren't in crisis.
I don't generally talk about this, but I think there's a very small probability that she will listen to this show. I have an ex-wife that I'm still dealing with today, still going to court, still, using the kids as weapons. And, and it's exactly what you just explained. It's about destroying my reputation destruction. And like the emails, the messages that I get, I'm like, what? How are you saying this about me? And then or saying that I did something that I've never done. Anyway, but it's out there, and but I've also seen it from weak men.
Sure.
And I think of this more on the narcissistic side, kind of narcissistic, borderline personality disorder side. I've seen it from men and women, mostly from women, but certainly men that possess higher kind of narcissistic
men without the fathers around, or men who are raised mostly by unhealthy women, because
a lot of daddy issues, a lot of mama issues.
They can only take on the traits of the parent they've been around the most,
right?
And then you start seeing, and this is where it starts getting into the people being unchecked, the weak people being unchecked, if you will. There's Sadia Khan gets pretty deep into how women these days are being glorified for toxic behavior instead of being checked. And women used to check women hard.
Yeah.
Women used to be the ones that checked women the most when it came to promiscuity, like, how sexual they were, with body counts, with attention, with all of it. Women would check each other way more than guys would. Guys didn't check them like that. Like, it was just not as common. We really just, didn't care as much, but women would be like, she's trashy, and they would destroy each other to keep each other in line. Now that was women shaming, they still shame each other, but now it's also being glorified. So a girl who's showing a lot of skin or creating an OnlyFans account or doing, naked pictures to make big monies is now called an entrepreneur.
Right.
Like, she's not trashy anymore. The strippers, though, they wouldn't get the good reputation from society. Well, now doing this is safer. And so it's my business, and I'm all about my business now.
Sure.
And, they're not taking into account the love part, especially the children as weapons or love as weapons. And this is something that later on is going to really come back and bite them in the ass when, I don't know how old your children are, but can you imagine being in 8th grade and everyone's got all your mom's porno?
Right.
Oh,
yeah. That would be
the nightmare of all your buddies. Dude, like, I jerk off to your mom like every day. You're like, come on, dude. Like,
what kind of a disservice are you doing? Are they doing? Yeah.
Oh my God. 100%. Now the embarrassment, 13 is freaking hard. Like, that's already difficult, let alone throw on, like, I'm watching my mom doing all this wild stuff, and you're like, dude, come on. Your buddies will be making t-shirts of your mom. You're like, what are you going to do? You're like, I got nothing right now. The amount of just embarrassment and shame from this, they keep coming around. Like, it gets worse. They're not taking any account for what does that look like later, because you're forever out there. And so, it makes it really tricky just growing up as the kids, but then take it the other way around too. I'm not big on trying to judge evil as hard as it probably could or should be. But I do believe that when you take something that somebody loves more than anything, they would live and or die from, and you weaponize a human being to destroy another person because they love. I think this is probably the closest thing I can think to just pure fucking evil. And right now it's also glamorized by other women of take him to court and destroy that man with your children. Use your children as the tool to absolutely demolish him because he's a father who loves his kids. Hurt him with them. And this is also glamorized. And we don't call this narcissistic behavior for some reason. because what? It's toxic masculinity allows me to be justified because there's a saying that I've been saying very often where most women gaslight their own introspection. Like, pull that in and chew on that for a second. Most women gaslight their own introspection. This means if you were to do that to a woman, you're a narcissistic monster. But if a woman does it to a man, she's just getting what's hers.
She's justified in it. Yes.
I can create a reason why it's not me who's bad. I can gaslight me doing the same behavior and say that's not what that really is. There's women who are doing more videos of saying women can't handle the truth. And they're like, I think that it's right. Because we can handle everybody else's truth, no problem, but our own is called something different.
Right. It's that goes back to that movie. A Few Good Men?
Yeah. You can't handle the truth.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's true. And this is becoming also dominant in the, like you said, the weak men.
Yes.
Are you familiar with Universe 25 stuff?
No.
Oh my God. You get ready to be fascinated. There's like a study done in the 60s. I think it was Calhoun did the studies. Just look into it. This is what happens if you have a utopian society that does not have like problems with food and water and shelter, and like safety security is not a top priority, and like the societal self-destruction from polarization and no longer being interested in breeding.
Oh yeah, I can already imagine. I already know the answer.
Yeah. You'll it's been done with multiple species over and over again to see if there's any variables that change it. But you start seeing what's happening in today's society has happened in all of these studies too with us. And you'd think that we, as these educated, higher knowledge beings, would be able to catch on at some point. But it turns out a majority will not.
No, they absolutely will not. They're sheep.
Correct. So there needs to be some kind of groups. And this is where I know in the future we'll be doing work together. And I'll be collaborating with more men who are taking the guys who do want to lead, the guys who do want a healthy pack and want to protect their women and love their kids and do take care of their people and want to be the best possible man that they can be, to be like the most successful alpha for their family, because they're servant leaders. Men are givers. Like good, strong men who give. That's how we provide. Well, those
Agreed.
guys we'll have to create a whole new society, because this one's going to fall apart.
I don't think we'll let it fall apart. I don't think the men that are around, because men like you and we're trying to make more men stronger. And I just want to kind of go back and kind of talk about, kind of that masculine and feminine traits that we were discussing earlier. I believe we need more alpha women. We need more strong women in society. 100% believe that. That's what I'm attracted to. I don't like a weak woman who's not capable of taking care of herself. What do you mean by that? This is where like it gets subjective, and I've got a whole thing that I think you're going to love on this. I'm going to go wave top, so I'm not going to go too deep into it. But there are some very strong, very dominant women out there in the world, and the thing that they want, and I've seen a lot more kind of videos about this, is they want a strong masculine man who will take care of them. They are women first and foremost. They are women by biology, DNA, like everything. They are women, but they're strong, and they have a lot of sort of masculine traits, if you will. They're strong leaders. They are very smart. They have their own brain, but at the end of the day, they're still women, and they want to be taken care of. They want a strong man to take care of them, I don't want to say the word dominate them, but want to show them that he can actually, she doesn't have to lead. She doesn't have to stand up. She doesn't have to do all the work.
Yes.
She can rely on a partner. She wants a partner. She wants someone who she can like not be on edge, not be armored up all the time. She can go back and just step into her femininity and be a woman again.
Yeah.
Like when she steps out of it and goes into the workplace or whatever, she has to be the strong, hard ass, whatever it is. But she needs a strong man that she can trust that she can trust to take her armor off so that she can step into her femininity. And I think, weak men end up trying to, or maybe they're not weak men. Maybe they just become weak, or they become intimidated by that strong energy. Well, and then they step into their, like they give up the alpha role. They give up the masculine role. And
they fall for the
she can totally do it.
It's the narrative of, like, remember that it's being very obviously redone, where they talk about it's not happy wife, happy life. It's happy house, happy spouse, happy house. And like, that's where like that whole happy wife, happy life has fallen upside down, because women have had to take on more burden of performance rather than just burden of beauty and or the home life. And so this has become very difficult for today's women have to now compete on both fronts. And I'm watching a lot more multiple personality stuff instead of like finding a balance of authenticity. It's dangerous for them, because I have to be able to compete with the wolves and then come home and be mama bear. It's two different human beings. And I would bet if I did personality tests for work mode and home mode, it's two different personality types.
Yes.
And so you're not wrong with being able to say, like, I want to be able to handle my business, but I want to be able to know that I can take my armor off and my guy has my back. That's a real thing. You are not incorrect. Yeah. But they don't know how to have a balance for this, because women are trying to be able to do it all. They are starting to realize and recognize, especially 30s, 40s to 50s right now, this age range and our age range, the women are truly struggling because they do not understand what that balance is supposed to be, nor do they understand how to respect a good guy, even if they had one.
Right.
How do they treat a guy?
I don't think men know how to do that either.
Right. And so then you're running into the guy who forfeit their happy wife, happy life. They forfeit their position.
And they also fall into the narrative as well. Like, oh, well, she needs to be, and so they're afraid to like take charge. You should be the leader of your family. The end. Period. End of discussion. Nothing else matters. Be the leader. Doesn't mean be an asshole.
Correct.
It doesn't mean that you can't, again, we're going back to alpha. You have two alphas working together. We talk a wolf pack. Like, just the male isn't always the one in charge. He, like, the female, there's a female alpha there as well.
Right.
And so he will step down and let her be in charge in certain things. And that just goes back to a room full of alphas.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter if you're male or female, masculine or feminine, you can still be, but the man should be taking charge of the family. He should be in charge, leading. Doesn't mean he's like makes all the decisions. It means that he provides that security, that comfort. He is the provider and the protector.
Well, it also takes on the burden of responsibility that if it all goes wrong, that's on me. And if it all goes right, good job, team.
Right.
And this is where, like, I take on all the negative responsibility also. If this plan falls apart, that's on me. Well, yes. You don't want that. You want it to be someone else's fault. No, I'll take it. That's me. That was my idea. It didn't go right. I got this.
I got it.
Being a leader doesn't just mean you get to be the dickhead in charge. That means if it goes wrong, that was you. And if it goes right, that was us.
It was the team. Yes.
And so that's the difference. Yes. So you want to hear something fucking fascinating that's happening with these white knights, the guys who are, women are better. Women can do everything better than us, putting women up on the pedestal. You want to hear this fascinating that's happening with that?
Tell me.
All right. So these guys who are like they're just the betas of betas for like these women who like are just degrading and like tear men down. And these guys are like, it's because women are better at everything. All that stuff. Right. These guys are ending up in jail because when they actually ever do get sexual intimacy, the repression inside of them on a subconscious level is making it so that they are beating the shit out of these women during sexual interaction. And I don't mean like aggressive, rough play. I mean like pounding into like hospital stay.
Really?
These dudes they're cracking that as soon as they actually do have like a sexual interaction, there's like a primal thing because they betrayed their DNA so hard that like this has happened to people who are newscasters. This has happened to there's guys getting arrested because like as soon as there's like a exchange or a dominance exchange sexually, like the pent up rage just comes and they just destroy them. Like,
And then they call that a toxic masculinity.
Yeah, but they
There's
built
nothing
that.
masculine about it.
No, but you built that guy. You destroyed him and suppressed him and embarrassed him and shamed him. And he went along with it because he thought it was the nice guy thing to do. But as soon as his primal instincts kicked in, he was just a mad chimpanzee that you had put in a cage for so long that he just started like going nuts on him. And that was bananas, chimpanzee bananas to me, that these guys who were the white knights and women are better at everything were being like taken to jail because they were beating them to pieces during sex. I'm
actually not surprised.
Yeah. The suppression leads to expression.
I mean, we're hardwired a certain way, and that you can't go around that. Like, you're hardwired a certain way. You can try to like circumnavigate it, but at the end of the day, who you truly are will come out. The thousands of years of evolution will come out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just so you know, I do not condone this behavior. I was blown away when I was watching these white knights beating the crap out of women, where they were the first ones saying women are better at everything, and then getting arrested.
I'm not surprised.
Being arrested for doing maximum damage. Wow.
Yeah, that is.
Wow. Like, you can't put them in front like that. And then there is no protector. And it's going to fall apart. And it is falling apart. That side is eating itself at the moment.
Well, I think that's also kind of part of the narrative, the purpose of the narrative. Break it all down.
Well, look at it. Yeah. If you start getting into it, it's all just surrounded with shame and judgment.
Yep.
Which is a system of control. All of it is.
Self-censorship. Self-censorship. When you start self-censoring.
Mm-hmm. I don't have to beat you anymore. I'll have you beat yourself by feeling ashamed for who you are. But do you know who's getting their ass kicked the worst?
Who's that?
Kids. The young boys.
Oh, for sure.
Do you know do you know who the loudest men's activists are these days?
Women.
It is women. They are recognizing that this pendulum makes it so my son is going to live in hell.
Yeah.
And if this goes this way, my boy will have no chance. Did you know that men under 35, it's like a higher number, and under, not asking women out anymore.
I think that's probably true. I have heard that.
Astronomical. I've got 3 teenage girls, and they say the whole school, the boys don't ask the girls out until like the girls are like, it's okay to ask me out. Okay. And they're like, okay, well, only if you say so. Boys are not interested anymore. And there's
They've
lot
so
of reasons.
fear. Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's a lot of reasons, because the women have gone, especially the women who didn't really need help, have created too many problems, not just for like other women, but for these boys to even want to ask them out. And so they'll be like, oh, well, I didn't want you to ask me out. And so they'll destroy that dude. And then the guy who she really wanted to ask him out is like, I'm not fucking playing that. Fuck that.
Hell no, I'm not going down that road.
And then all the girls who are like, hey, don't, no. I want him to ask. Oh, what? He's not going to ask me out because you made it so all guys asking people out. It's not supposed to do that. You're supposed to feel terrible because you're a catcaller, or, you're a chauvinist, or you're a toxic masculinity for enjoying or liking a girl. Do you know where boys are going?
To porn.
You damn right they are.
Porn.
Why? Because it's the easy button. It's instant gratification for as many options as possible with no rejection at all.
Right.
See, I can have as much variety as possible. You know who women are going to be really competing with? It's going to be AI soon. I've heard stories already of guys who have like a sensation suit and VR goggles, and they have like a silicone butt and vagina thing. And like, that's the intimacy for them. And they're in their goggles. They're in an interactive looking at the scenario, and they can feel the sensations through this suit or something. And that's just first gen shit. Like, this stuff will get so advanced that like, well, I can have any scenario I want. It feels really, really great. And there is zero drama.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I mean, I can think of all sorts of sci-fi movies where that's already, that was the case.
Mm-hmm.
And all kind of these movies.
And then if I got this hyper masculine woman who's just shit talking and competing all the time with nagging, complaining, and thinking their illusion of options makes them better because the lower half of the dudes are like just bombarding their DMs when like the guys who they're really hunting for are like, why would I pay a premium when you're fucking with all that? Like they're going to end up losing. So who loses? Yeah. Women lose. I got 3 girls. I'm like, this game looks like shit for you guys in the future.
Yeah. Yeah.
Frustrating. So there's a lot more women who are standing up right now for men's rights because they're like, whoa, we're screwing ourselves. This goes really bad for us. Another fun fact, there's never been more women over 30 without children in human history than right now.
More women over 30 without children.
It's never happened. There's actually more women without children over 30 than women with children under 30. That has never in humanity ever happened. Universe 25, dude, you're gonna be blown away. So what's happening?
That's interesting that women are fighting for men's rights.
They have to.
You don't see that in the mainstream media at all.
It's out there. You can see you
complete subculture. I'm sure now that we're talking about it, I will see and hear more about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I just changed your algorithm through this conversation.
Right. Done.
Google heard you. So but it's out there. You can see her Sadia Khan. She's a good one who's stepping up too, because she's not just for men or women. She's for couples and relationships, but she's pointing out a lot of the same. These are other psychologists who are in the same game going, hey, there's a thing. This is bad. This goes really bad for us. These studies have been done before. We're not doing something different. This is the same. Watch out. This goes this way. And this is the game we're in right now, where we have to try and make it so we can create stability in our families and our lifestyles and our businesses and our friendships and our brotherhoods and our unity, so that we have a fighting fucking chance. Because right now the structure is really difficult, especially for women to be able to be feminine when right now their careers are being glamorized far over their biology or their family or their love. And that's why you see more women doing I saw a woman do a TED talk where I have a PhD, but I can't get a man. I'm like, well, men don't give a fuck about your PhD. That's not a qualification. And we don't care. We see women who have put all their eggs into their career and they became successful and then they can't find a man. We're like, well, could you imagine our first date going like, hey, so I saw you have a lot of money. What is my cut of that money?
Right.
Like that date doesn't go to a second date.
No, absolutely not.
So who cares about how much money you have? I don't care about your career. Don't care about your money. Don't care about your degree, because none of that is for me. It's for you. And so that's cool that you have it. But what's that got to do with our relationship?
Right.
And this is where
I've talked to so many of those women, and they're like, where are all the good men? I'm like, they are out there. You just gotta.
You just fucked them over so damn hard they don't want to talk to you.
Right.
It's a real thing. Yep. Listen, you girls are picking bad boys, waiting for them to be good guys and telling good guys they're pieces of shit and they don't want to talk to you anymore.
Not going to happen.
Yeah, you're not good anymore. All right, let's talk about it. Let's help our ladies out here, because we work with men and we get to hear from the guy side. How would you say if a woman was supposed to, from your guy's point of view and from your experience, what is it that guys would be looking for if you were to make a list for let's just help these ladies out a little bit? And what are the guys going this is what we would like? What would you say?
What guys should be looking for or would be looking for?
Yeah. If a lady is like, okay, listen, I know I'm falling for the whole thing where I put my career and on my status is more important, but if there are good guys, what are good guys looking for? If they're strong alphas, good gorillas, the good guys, what are some traits we look for?
I think we're looking for strong women. And what I mean by that is a woman who a good partner is someone who can, going back to that sort of silverback / wolf pack. I want someone who can take care of themselves in my absence, but when I'm there, they will, because of who I am and the energy I bring and the masculinity that I bring, they will step back into their femininity. We each have roles, we each have lanes. So you gotta know what your lanes are. But I think this is a good question. I'm gonna have to put a little bit of thought into it as I'm talking, as I'm rambling right now. I think actually, I'm going to go to what I believe. I believe that every man needs to be pushed, he needs to be heard, and he needs to be appreciated. Once you don't have those three things, you start looking elsewhere for those things. And so I think, when you're looking for a woman, you need to find a woman who will push you professionally, personally, so maybe even in the bedroom.
Help us out here, because pushed can be handled very aggressively. So what do you mean by push to make it so a man will receive a woman who pushes instead of a competitor or somebody who's another drill sergeant? What do you mean by that?
Hold on a second. My tech just moved around. Can you give me a sound check real quick?
Sound check.
Okay, we're booked. We're good. All right, I'm back.
All right.
I don't know, so, out of my ears.
It's okay. Okay, so let's help with the being pushed thing, because women are like, okay, so I have to be pushy and naggy and complaining and drill sergeant.
That's very good. Words mean things. So pushed, I mean, when I talk about being pushed, I mean, I'm talking about someone who's encouraging me to be a better person, someone who's encouraging me to try harder, is not putting me down. Maybe if I want to go try something, maybe they're even like a little bit of a cheerleader. Like, come on, let's try it. Something new. I want to start a new business, whatever. They've got your back. You want someone who's got your back. They're not necessarily, they might be a critic, but a critic with love. Like, let's poke holes in your plan and find the best and most efficient way to do that. Whatever that is. I want you to be a better husband. I want you to be a better, I want to be challenged. I don't want to live a life of status quo. I don't want to be status quo. I don't want to be mediocre. I want to be pushed. Maybe you know what? Maybe she wants to go on a date night once a week. Rather than just eat dinner all the time. Okay, well then you got to go find a babysitter. You got to push me, make me challenge me. I want to be challenged. I want to be heard. When I say something, I want you, I want it to be a conversation.
Hold on.
I need to be able to listen.
I gotta go with the ladies on this one. You're like, I see. You want me to be submissive, which means I shut up and you talk and do everything you say. Is that what you mean by being heard?
No, absolutely not. I need to be heard. When I say something, we can turn it into a conversation. But me being heard also requires me to listen. It's just like leadership. It's like being the alpha. I will be the alpha and I will be the dominant and I will be whatever until it's time for me to step back and let you take that role. And then when you take that role, I support you. And then when it's time for me to take the role again, I take it back and you support me. Being heard exactly the same way. When I say something, I want your feedback. I don't want just whatever you say, that's great. No, that's not what I want. I want actual real feedback. I want real conversation. Maybe you can see it from a different perspective. And maybe I can see what you've got going on from a different perspective. So we listen to one another. We give one another feedback. We actually, we try to make one another better, push and heard and appreciated. That's
right.
I think that the appreciate. Okay, go ahead.
A guy to be appreciated.
I like this deep dive.
Yeah, so a guy getting appreciated, you want to make sure that whenever you're doing something, she's like, I'll never leave you. I'll always be there for you. And I've got your back always, and I'll always be there for you to make sure that you're okay. That's how you want to be appreciated, right?
Absolutely not.
Okay,
Absolutely
how do
not.
guys want to be appreciated?
No. I just want to know that, just say thank you. Just I appreciate you doing that. I appreciate you setting up that date night. I appreciate you booking those flights for whatever. I just want a little affirmation, because it doesn't matter how badass we think we are.
I'm pushing
how badass we think we are. I know. But we all want that positive feedback, that affirmation that we're doing a good job. Because if we don't get that feedback, even tell me you could have done this, but okay, that's feedback. That's not appreciation. If you tell me that you appreciate the things that I'm doing, I know that I'm doing the right thing. But if I don't get the feedback, I'm not going to know it. And I've gone, many, many years of my life where I'm I'm doing a fucking good job. I want to know that I'm doing a good job.
And you didn't get it.
Getting zero of it. Yes.
Correct. This is where I would challenge.
And it comes in many, many forms.
This is where, with you and me, if you're one of my brothers, I'd be like, I can tell you got beat the fuck down, because your level of appreciation that you are willing to accept is this much. You're like,
Right.
just at least fucking say thank you. Like, just at least give me, at least, like, can I get to, I matter? Can I at least, I don't even need to be the, like, thank you, you're the greatest. Can I just, did you,
I don't mean, you don't have to trip over yourself. You don't have to trip over yourself. I need to fucking know it though.
Can you at least say, like, I saw you were home today? Like, like, this is where I would be like, no, wait a second. I would, if we got a cheerleader here for being pushed and we want encouragement, I also want the appreciation to be like, that's my motherfucking man. Like, hell
Yes.
yeah, baby, slap on the ass.
That's the way it should be. That's
You go get him,
100%.
Tiger. Or
But
like,
it doesn't have to be all the time. It doesn't need to be all the time, because if you give that all the time, then you just become numb to it.
Sure. And this is where
you need the small things and then the big thing.
Yeah, you got those 3 parts there. I did a video too where the appreciation is necessary to understand the difference between men and women. Men want the appreciation for recognition. Girls want reassurance. And that's why when I was giving you appreciation the first way, that's how girls like it. I'll always be there for you. I'll take care of you through anything. You're supported. You're the greatest ever. Wow, I'm the luckiest man on earth. Like, it's reassurance that you're safe and secure with me is how they like it. But if a guy does that to another guy, you saw like, nope, that's not,
fuck that. I don't need that.
We do not require that. But women will oftentimes give us appreciation the way that they like it. And it's weird to us. I don't need to give you safety, security, reassurance because we're men. We want appreciation and encouragement, not reassurance. And so that's why I was like, is this how it's done? And I can see you go, no, that's not how that's done, because we don't need that.
No, absolutely not.
So that's a good point for how do you appreciate somebody? Well, like, I'm going to do it my best way. But that is, even if she comes in as, I like reassurance. So I'm going to give him reassurance that, hey, babe, you fix that car. I'll never leave you. And you're like,
right. No. And so that comes down to communication. How do you want to be appreciated?
Most people don't
talk
know.
to them about it.
Most don't even know their own needs, even to have the herd thing. Most people don't know how to explain their own unmet needs because they've never deep dived themselves deep enough. That's why I do 5 weeks of it when we start. Do you even know yourself to be able to make a request authentically? And most people don't, because just like you showed when you've been in the military your whole life, when since you were born were you not told what to do? You got parents and then teachers and then coaches and then bosses and then CEOs. And you've been told what to do, where to go and how to do it. And then also you need to take care of that person and take care of this person. So what do you need? I'll take care of that. What do you need? I'll take care of that. And you become a servant to, like, even as a leader, what do you need? What do you need? What do you need? What do you need? You're always being told what you need to do. And then you're all of a sudden supposed to know what your needs are. How the fuck do I know? I've been doing everybody else's shit my whole life.
Right. Yep.
So what do you want is a really complicated question for us, especially when it comes to, like, what are your values? What are your needs? What are your boundaries? What are your non-negotiables? Hell if I fucking know. It's really tricky for boys. We don't know.
Super tricky. Yeah.
And so
and everyone is different. I mean, I think there's like some global sort of wave top that we're all about the same, but yeah, everyone is different. Everyone is wired differently. I need kind of different appreciation. Like, I guess it goes back to like what are your love languages?
Well, that gets different too, because those get trickier. I'm gonna save us the love languages because that gets into it. Because I
don't mean to dirt dive that. I don't mean to like deep dive that. I just mean, like, everyone is different. Everyone likes that appreciation. Everyone wants to feel it a little bit differently.
Do you want a list? So I have my guys put a list together because I took like 100 dudes and I was like, what is the list for the ladies? Do you want the list?
Send it. Give me the list.
I'm with you at the beginning. I had a list of both of us. Like, the guys were like, this is stuff that, like, we're not saying they need to do this only. We'll do this list too, including the herd part. So the we'll both do it list is like at least golden rule stuff. Like, we don't make justifications for treating you a way I don't want to be treated. That was at least one of the things. Loyalty, trustworthy, reliability and showing up, being respectful, take accountability for your part, and then communication, which is listen to understand and don't interrupt. Like, at least try to be heard. I want to listen to understand, not try to assume and then force it to fit. So that was the both of us. That was the ones where, like, ladies, we're not telling you to do some shit that's like, that's equal traits. We're in. Okay. We'll do those ones too. This is the ones for the ladies. So when it came to the actual list, aside from physical and mental, like, how hot versus crazy scale, which was actually like way more lenient than you would think. Our hot crazy scale, like William, you're familiar with hot crazy scale. What would you say, like, all right, what is the furthest level of hot crazy that like the lowest hotness to the highest crazy tolerable? Like, where would you go? Like, this is where my line is for you.
I think it depends on the kind of crazy, but
sure.
Because there's lots of different crazies out there.
That's true.
I do like hot, and I like you get it. I mean, you could call me. I could fall pretty high on the crazy scale as well. Based on.
So give me your numbers. We got 1 to 10 on both sides. What's your lowest number for the hotness that you would be like, this is what I would stay with?
I'm gonna go. Gosh.
It's a subjective question. This is not.
It is.
It's your own opinion.
I'm gonna go with a 7 on the hot and a 3 on the crazy.
Okay, so you're going to extreme. You're like, no, we don't. I don't want to fuck with it. So for our guys, no guys were sitting there on the 10s. Like our guys had 6 or up. So the vast majority, all collective. The 6 was the number where like it stayed at like 6 or higher. And the main criteria is at least try. Like,
right.
Like do hygiene, maybe take care of your body, like work out once in a while, like, eat well. Like you should take care of yourself anyways. Like the guys were like,
I don't even want, like, I'm like even cringing when I say the 7. I really want the 8, at least the 8, but yeah, on the hot. Are you there?
There it is. It stopped it. I'm even cringing, and then it dropped.
Oh, okay. I got you. It's like I'm cringing on like the fact that I even said 7. I really want to say 8 plus.
You chauvinist. All right, so
I am. It's okay.
So you're raising your standards. Like, listen, I don't want to get stuck. All right, so now you went down to 3, which means you've been fucked with a lot. So you're like my crazy might be like higher. But I'm gonna put hers down lower to try and keep me from maybe being as crazy as I can be. So you said a 3, which, can we just be fair? Like even the ladies are like, I don't even know any 3s. What are you talking about?
It doesn't exist. Yeah, but I have unreasonable expectations.
Yeah, you want an 8 hot and a 3 crazy. That's in marriage immediately zone. I think they have this little tiny box of unicorns and like. You find one of those, you marry them. Our guys said 6 plus, and on the crazy scale, they said at least 8 or under, which shows how much grace that we give for crazy. Ladies, you haven't set the bar low for us. Like you said, we're like just at least not a 9 or a 10. Can we just not have the extremes? Can I not have Carrie Underwood slashing my tires and killing my car? Like, I just need the crazy. At least I'll take an 8, which is already severe, but I'll settle it. Also, William, let's go ahead and call it, in case you ladies are wondering what has made it so we tolerate so much. Have you ever been in the middle of crazy and going, this is obviously fucking nuts, but that ass though, fuck.
You know what? It was, I have, and you're 100% right. I have been burned like you wouldn't believe. Still being burned today, but as Tim Grover says, you have to flex your id-gaff muscle, your I don't give a fuck muscle.
Yeah, well, listen, at the time you had that, like, I do give a fuck because of that ass.
Well, it's because I didn't know my own worth. I didn't know, like, my own value. And what was the value I fucking know it today.
Well, for sure.
Well, I was young. I was like, oh, well, everyone else is doing it. Maybe I should do it too. Like, this is the hottest person I could probably ever be with in my life.
Correct.
And it wasn't crazy in the beginning, and then it just got progressively crazier over time. But again, once I recognized that there was crazy there, if I was the person I am now, I would have punched and like got the hell away from it.
No,
but
we can't.
I didn't know my worth.
No, we couldn't go back. We can't go back. We know too much now.
But I also value the lessons that I've learned from that.
This is the point.
I'm grateful for the lessons that I've learned.
This is where I'm happy you're saying that, because like we're able to say, guys, we can train you to not need to stay in this because we don't recognize what that is now. Younger, untrained us didn't know that you're in 8 crazy, and I didn't know there's another option because you're sitting there going, this girl's hot, so I deal with the crazy.
Right.
Listen, we've all fallen in this. We all did this. This is a subjective part. you want to know the thing that our guys said was like the only other physical thing is like a willingness to grow together. Like at least be willing to try to like you improve and I improve so we can improve as a team.
Right.
Like I just want someone I can grow with. That was their big part as far as like make sure we can grow together. And I don't mean like we just eat everything and we're all physically growing. I just mean like grow together. What is with this desk? Killing me. So here's the only list that we had for just the ladies now. Okay, you ready?
Okay. Yep.
First, be kind. Be nice. That's the first thing. Be nice. Just be kind. Second, try and be fun. Be fun. Like if something breaks, we don't yell at everybody. We laugh like, whoa, close call. Like don't be crazy and just be fun. Next is the gratitude and appreciation. And yeah, even like small stuff like, hey, good looking out, babe. Or you took that garbage out? Nice. Not you're supposed to. Like appreciate each other for looking out for each other. Have gratitude. The next one is encourage and supportive because she was our best cheerleader. So you were right on the cheerleader thing. Guys are like, I picked you because you made me feel the best being around you. I felt the best near you, and that's why I wanted to be near you more. The next one is caring and nurturing. We actually really appreciate that nurturing. Like be warm when we come home. And the last one, or the last two here is first is show effort. Like just be curious or interested in our stuff. You don't have to work on the car with me, but just be like, baby, what are you doing? Like at least be a little curious. You don't have to be included, but at least go like, why do you like that? I would like to know why you like that. Like you don't have to be involved. We didn't say you have to do it, but just go like, I'm interested in why you like things. Just like you would like us to be interested in why you like things. It's not our thing, but I know you like the thing and I'm interested why you do because you're important to me. Just show interest. Just have effort. Just try. And the last one is enthusiasm towards intimacy. Don't be a dead fish. Don't just lay there and be like, I guess you can do me. Like, no, like show that I want you and you want me and together we are better. Like it feels good to want each other.
Yes.
And so to sum it up, it's nurture, intimacy.
I like all of those. Those are fantastic.
You got it, right? Nurture, intimacy, kindness, appreciation, support, like encouragement, be nice, like cheer for me again, be fun, and be a warm place, not cold and mean. The way we said it was, if I'm Supermaning all day, please let me come home to Lois Lane and not Kryptonite.
Yes.
And so this was the list. Now, if you look at all of these, what is the sacrifice level and be nice, be fun, have gratitude, encouraging, caring, effort, and enthusiasm? What's the sacrifice that she needs to make for these things? Does she have to put her life on the line? Does she have to give all of her provisions? Does she have to do the dangerous jobs? No.
Are you asking me or are you telling me?
I'm both. I guess. Like, what does this look like? If this list right here, does it seem like we want her to do all the shitty shit?
Nope. It doesn't sound like it all. It sounds like we want her to be in her femininity.
This is what the guys were saying we're attracted to. Now, notice that nothing on here is she needs a high-paying job. She needs to be a boss babe. She needs a high degree. She needs to be a strong competitor. Like, we didn't put any of this stuff. None of the guys were interested in that. And so the girls in this narrative today are being told they need to be the providers. They need to be the one who does everything. But our guys are going, we don't need that. A healthy guy doesn't need that. A healthy guy just wants you to be nice and fun and grateful and encouraging and playful and nurturing and enthusiastic.
100%.
Be cool.
But again, that goes back to that, like what I said earlier, like that is the masculine feminine dynamic.
Mm-hmm. Ladies know the answers these days. You want to see something fun? I use this often. You know what this is, right?
Yep.
All right, this is a solved Rubik's Cube. This is what it looks like when you did it. Yay! All the colors on each side are all correct. Except, these days, people's cube looks more like this. And you got your gurus out there who have the greens done. I got green. Green is complete. Now the rest of my cube's fucked. And you can also see I cheated a little bit. I tried to peel the sticker off and try to do it. It didn't work. So take
it apart.
Yeah. So the problem is you see a lot of people going like, you want to be successful like me? I'll get you the money part of it. It's going to be awesome. But the rest of my life is a shambles, right?
Disaster.
And you see people trying to I'm trying to get it right, but I don't want to mix up my greens because I work so hard to get the greens done that I can't turn the green. Because if I turn the green to solve the other side,
you're going to mess it up.
I can't. I got to put the greens back. I got to put them back. Even though to solve a Rubik's Cube, you have to mess up the greens to get to the other side. And you see people get one side, even sometimes lucky two sides, and they're not able to find the balance within themselves. And so people know the answer. The answer is what it looks like with all the sides are solved. But the solution is very different than the answer because it requires you to mess things up to make it correct. And this is where when people say, I know what feminine is supposed to be, but they're the most masculine women that you've ever met trying to preach feminine energy.
Right.
And that makes it really difficult for our fellas. Did I break up on you right there?
No, I'm good on my end.
Good.
Are we good?
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. So I like that analogy, and it's a great visualization of like just what you said. Just because you have like, we can talk money, we can talk on the entrepreneur side or whatever. Like I worked really hard, I made all this money, but the rest of your life is a shit show. Like your health is in the toilet, your family life is in the toilet, and sometimes you got to mess up a little bit of your financial part of it. Like that financial success, everything is perfect and whatever, to like fix everything else. Well, like you need to start working on your fitness. You need to start working on your family and your faith in yourself, whatever that is. Work on your future. But you can't have one side that's solved and everything else is just a mess. Correct. You got to work on all of it. You got to mess up that thing that is perfect and not be perfect anymore.
And this is why they need guys like us, is you have to mess up that greens, brother. But it's okay because we're going to show you how to solve the whole thing and not just one side.
Yeah.
And you're right. Mind, body, heart, soul, and spirit. You got to get into that health, wealth, love, happiness. You got to go into all these different categories. So
let's talk about that Rubik's Cube real quick. I'm stuck on that. I really like that. So how do you solve a Rubik's Cube? How do you solve the Rubik's Cube without like taking it apart and putting it back together? That is one way to do it.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's patterns to it and understanding how the system works, and then you have to go through and figure out where you are, and then you have to go through it, and we go through it together and switch through the different sides until you understand the system itself. And once you understand how it works, there's a process to it, correct. Now, it's going to look unorthodox at first until you start getting through and you start going like, I understand to get this one here to here, I have to do this pattern. I know that this is how I move that to that spot. And so then we have to practice and train.
And it's not doing that pattern once. Oftentimes it's doing that same pattern over and over and over until you solve that layer of it. And then you do another pattern to solve another layer and another pattern to solve another layer.
Correct.
It's that process. And most people think it's a one and done. It's absolutely not a one and done.
Yeah. And they're going to wait for it. Now, here's the other part. Now, here's where it gets tricky, William. Here's where it gets hard. If you want to solve your cube, it's repetition and it's long time and it's hard work and it doesn't look like it's working, but you get rewarded for not doing it. You get rewarded for not working on your cube. So let's go watch on Netflix. Let's go scroll social media. Let's go watch a bunch of porn. Let's go ahead and do a whole bunch of stuff that's instant gratification. Let's go and chase women. Let's go and do all this other stuff. Let's go conquest and let's go make some money and let's go do all these things. In fact, I get rewarded by doing distractions like play video games and do all this stuff. I get rewarded for not growing, for not working on my cube, and for not teaming up with guys. I get rewarded. Now, how does that complicate it when it doesn't look like it's working at all?
And it's still just one side is solved.
If that the whole thing I tried changing the greens like that guy said, and like now it's even
all
worse.
A whole big disaster. Now you have to go back and like put the greens back together or the whites back together.
I forgot where I even was. So fuck it.
Yeah.
Quit my job.
Yeah.
So this is why it's tough, is right now we're in an instant gratification society, and working on your stuff is difficult, especially alone. And that's why together we're better to go like, oh, no, you're here. Look at the corners and look at the centerpiece. You got to see, look here, here, here.
Yep.
Now you see.
Line those up.
And they're like, oh, so wait, it does this and this. I'm like, yes, until you get to this point, that's how you solve that side. And then knowing when to switch to the next pattern. And so like, it's pretty cool to watch like just how that works, but we know the answers. And that's the problem with people, is there's no shortage of the answers. We send each other memes. We send each other podcasts. We send each other gifts. We send each other quotes. We know the answers. We know what's your why. You need to know your why, man. Simon Sinek, why? Know your why. Well, how do you find your purpose? It's way more complicated than just watch a video.
Way more complicated. Yeah.
You know? And so I want to get into like some of your strengths here, the get naked thing. And I enjoy the vulnerability aspect of it. This is why it's hard for a lot of guys. Mind, body, heart, and soul is something we've recognized in the warrior's way. Mind and body is like knowledge and tactics and action, right? Mind, body. I know what to do. I understand the answers, and I'm going to do the work, right?
Right.
But if I said the word surrender to you with mind and body, is that a good word or a bad word?
I'm probably not going to do that.
It's not good. Mind and body, that means tactically inept. This means I quit. Surrender on mind and body is fail. This is not good. So I don't like fail. Surrender is bad. Now surrender spirit and surrender heart. Good or bad?
Good.
Mm-hmm. Oh shit. So it's like a yin yang.
Hold on. It's context. Their context applies.
Cool. Okay. Falling in love. Is that a surrender or is that a force?
That would be a surrender.
Okay.
Actually, that would be a hold on. Let me hold on. You gave me a one or the other.
Yeah,
but I want to pick. I want to pick C.
What's your C?
It is, but again, yeah, it is goes back to being vulnerable. Like going back to like sort of that list of trust and acceptance of someone else. Vulnerability. Taking off that armor for just a little bit.
There it goes. Yeah, man, this is going in and out on that. It goes back to trust and then.
Yeah, trust and vulnerability.
Yeah. So this is why it's called falling in love. It's not a make you. It's, we want to try and say it's a choice, but anybody who's ever truly fallen in love, it almost feels like it happened without even knowing.
You never saw it coming. Right.
I surrender to this. This is why it's called falling and not forcing. It's falling in love. Right. I let go.
You're not trying to catch yourself.
I let go. I jumped on faith. I'm giving my heart to you. Maximum vulnerability, also potential for maximum damage. And that's called surrendering my heart to you. It's falling in love. And if you've ever been truly in love, boy, is it powerful when it's good. And damn it, does it hurt when it's not. So
yes,
the heart side is one thing. Now, spirit side, faith side, I don't care if it's God, law of attraction, mantras, karma, universe, you call it whatever the fuck you want. God made all of them. So pick your thing, whatever it is. I don't care. When you surrender to something greater than yourself, things start to happen. And when you let go of all of the responsibility of the universe falls on your shoulders, things start to move positively. There is something there, and I've talked to too many spirit side warriors to go, there's nothing. There's something. Like there's
definitely something there.
And if you surrender on that side, you feel Super Saiyan strong. You go 10x. Like you're like, damn, I feel more empowered and more free than ever. Now, heart and spirit side, when you surrender, you level up. But on mind and body side, if you surrender, you quit or you failed or you lost.
Fall. Yeah.
See, now this is why some of these words get tricky because we have to work on all sides of our cube. Some sides that's bad, but some sides that's good. Is that the same? No, but they're different sides of the same cube though. So you still have to learn which ones are which to balance yourself out. And that's why this game is so tricky to do by yourself.
See, I see where you're going with this.
Yeah. So now when it comes time to find balance.
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
I have to rework my armor.
the people who are listening may not pick up what I'm picking up right now, but and we'll talk about it offline. But
this is just two experts talking. You get it.
No, 100%. When I talk about getting naked and taking that armor off and becoming vulnerable, it is so that you can find the healing you need. I don't take my armor off when I'm out in combat. I take it off when I'm back in a safe space or a safe place, or I'm back, surrounded by other people who can protect me while I'm being vulnerable. You know what I mean? There's that trust. Like, I have to have a tremendous trust before I can be brave enough to be vulnerable.
So now we're training guys to know the difference, know each side, know themselves, being able to know this is when I have to have the armor on, the armor off. And then that there are other tools that are available, not only as unifying with men, but also some of the other things that you've been doing to help guys have a fighting chance to be able to work through their cube. Now, what are some of the other things you've been doing to help guys have an advantage while working on their cube?
I try to give them this, talk to them about masculinity and the difference between masculinity and femininity and being strong in their masculine self. I help them with business. I've helped them with leadership. And again, oftentimes the things that help them with business and leadership are those personal development things. Being strong in mind, being strong in body, going out and doing hard things, going out and expanding your capacity for work, for what you can actually endure. Mm-hmm. When I talk about, getting naked, naked is an acronym, and the N is never quit. The A is accept failure. The K is kill mediocrity. The E is expose your fears, and D is do the work. And there's a whole, I could talk for a very long time about those things, but those are, sort of my core values. Those are the things that I apply to everything in my life, and not everything at one time. Like, sometimes I'm working on this one piece about being vulnerable, and I'm always working on something. And just because I am what I am, and I have and I do the things that I do, doesn't mean that I'm not continually working on myself. That's Correct. How I'm continually improving. I remember when I was in leadership positions in the SEAL teams, the times that I was the most uncomfortable and sometimes had to be vulnerable, or the times that I was the most successful. The times where I was like, I know what I'm doing. I got this. This is super easy. And I became complacent, and I fell on my sword. I failed miserably as a leader in the SEAL teams or in relationships or in whatever. Anytime that I became complacent and thought I knew the answer, I had the biggest failures, the times that I was uncomfortable. So the lessons I learned from that is I continue to stay uncomfortable. I continue to push myself. I continue to try new things. Being vulnerable is super hard. It's very hard for me. I've never been I always thought it was a sign of weakness. And once I realized that I had to be brave enough to be vulnerable, that was like reframing that. And now I'm teaching other men to do that. Like, you know what? Maybe you're not brave enough to be vulnerable yet. So we're going to do some really hard stuff and break you down physically, which is going to break you down mentally and emotionally, so we can really expose the core of you, do that really hard thing, and now make you face that really hard thing. And help you work through that thing so that you can actually be the man that you're supposed to be.
Yeah, I love that. The man, be a man. I did a 2-hour training on this 2 weeks ago. What's it mean to be a man? And we got into that, being tough and being aggressive and, push your feelings down and, don't cry and all these, be a man, all that stuff. And I was like, I got a lot of guys who would walk into a firefight. I got police officers, I've got firefighters, I've got military and all branches. I'm like, you name it, be a man. We got guys who will walk right into the fire. Let's go. Right. But I was like, go ahead and show your vulnerability. Open your heart up. I'm like, listen, we're not afraid of bullets, but we're afraid to show our feelings. And you're going to tell me that's pussy shit. That's sissy stuff. That's weakness. Yeah. I'd be like, if it's so weak and so easy, why can't you do it?
Yeah. You know what? When I get on stage, I'd probably say I start crying 70% of the time.
Yeah.
Not just break down fully, but I'll for sure get choked up, and
my dudes get me all the time. I'm like, you fucking got
share it
me,
in
bro.
front of hundreds or thousands of people.
Yep.
And that's good.
I've cried on this show. Like people get me because you care. Being a good-hearted man, you'll open that up. Not afraid to cry. Yeah. Not afraid. Is it because we're weak?
Good. I used to be afraid of it. I used to be embarrassed by it. Now I'm like, I just embrace it. And I'm like, okay. And what I realized what happens is people see, like, they appreciate you being vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they see like a Navy SEAL come in, they're like, oh, he's hard, he's tough, he's whatever. And I am. Yes, I am. But I also have a heart. I have feelings. I will cry in front of men. I'll cry in front of women. I'll cry in front of whoever, which that would never happen. Once upon a time, never, ever, never. But that was the work that I've done.
Yeah.
And I'm not afraid to do that anymore. I don't really like doing it because it's hard to recover and then like deliver a powerful message. But actually, it's not. It's easy to deliver a powerful message when you're emotional.
Yeah. No, I'm with you, man. This is something where when we challenge it, this is why I would probably send you that video. Just watch it. It's 2-hour training I did where it starts off. The first hour is us doing like the tough guy stuff we were taught to be. But the last hour is guys just, man, I fucking love you guys. Like, you guys are my brothers, man. I love you guys. And each guy was started like, first off, it's hard for me to say it, but I do absolutely love you guys. Let me get into it. Here's something for my vulnerability. And the guys would come in and it's a bunch of badass dudes. Like I said, it's Marines and it's other vets and Army and they got Navy guys and we got, Seabees and we got all these guys in there. We got police officers, guys in uniform. There's guys on just tough dudes, truck drivers and, guys who are just linemen. We got all these guys in here who are like, I love you guys. I really do. You guys are my brothers. Yeah. You're my guys. And we can have that vulnerability and take your armor off. And you're going to tell me that's not what a man does? A real man doesn't say, I believe in you, or I'm proud of you, or I love you. A real man can't cry. A real man can't be a human being. I'm like, listen, permission to be human granted. Because that's not how that works. The toughest guys are like, I'm not afraid of what you're going to judge me on if I take my armor off, because judgments aren't going to do damage. Go ahead and do your worst. I know myself well enough that if I tell you, oh, William, you're 9 feet tall, you're like, well, that's funny. And maybe sometimes I wish, but I know that's not true. So you can't really hurt me with that one. No
it's
different.
Interesting. This reminds me of like so this weekend at the project there was a gentleman, his name is John. He quit about 13 hours in. It's not because he wasn't capable of doing it. He's certainly capable of doing it. He just broke down mentally. It is physically challenging, but there's a mental aspect to it. And he was, he's a bigger guy, a little bit slower, a little bit old, 53 years old. And we're crawling around. They're crawling around in the dirt and like rocks and shit. It's like it's very uncomfortable. And he was way behind the rest of the class. And I would just come up there. I'm like, come on, man, I believe in you. You fucking got this. Keep fucking going. And what I didn't know at the time was 4 months ago, he was sitting on a park bench across from some lake with a 45 in his hand, ready to end it all. And something told him to stop. And then something told him to sign up for that program. And later on, I heard the story, and when he quit the program, I was like, let me have your number. I want give me your number right now. And he gave it to me, and then I texted him, and then I followed up. I'm like, hey man, how you doing? He was like, I cried for like an hour. It was very cleansing. But he's like, thank you for believing in me more than I believed in myself. All the instructors there, like the caliber that you are, like I can't like tell you how appreciative I am. And then he went home. And then he sent me a video of, with him and his wife. And he was like, listen, like, I know I didn't make it through the program, but you guys did more for me in 13 hours than I could have ever done for myself in my whole life. Like, you believed in me more than anyone has ever believed in me. Maybe not more than my wife, but, I feel like I have a new charter in life. I'm finding my mission. I'm finding my purpose. And I appreciate what you've done for me. And again, he didn't make it through the program, but the impact that the program had on him, because we were just encouraging him. Like, we saw that he wasn't as fast as everyone else. That's okay. Like, go through the process, do the work. He was doing the work until he didn't want to do that physical work anymore. But because we encouraged him to keep going, man, you got this. I believe in you. Like little words of affirmation. Like, they resonated like deep into his soul. And so I think that's a lot of what you're talking about right now.
Absolutely correct. Yeah, we do it almost every day. We have the Warriors way is different, man. It's everyday training. Nobody's got support like we do. We do every day, sometimes a couple times a day. And like, that's hard. And so like, this is where our guys get together, and you can see the culture is you're never alone, you know, and we've had to have those conversations with the guys with the next to the gun. We've had to have the conversation. It's only, I'm the only one who gets to have those because nobody else, it's too much liability. I'm the only person who has to talk.
Oh yeah.
And those are tough conversations. And we've also found on how difficult it is when you're isolated. And isolation is killing our sons and our nephews and our brothers and our fathers. It's isolation because they have no purpose and they have no belonging and they have no value. And when you have a place that you belong, it changes everything. And so we created a nighttime group that's just for hanging out. Guys who have been into battle, we've gone in and fought demons and broken curses together. And so if you need to, they're proficient enough to have your back. But it's more important that you have somebody who like wants to hear the things that you care about. Joke around about something. You can talk about trucks or fishing or chicks or whatever. I don't care. You belong. Since we started that, it's been coming up on a year now. Since we started that, I got two guys that run it. Props to Phil and Chris. They run the nighttime group where they just go hang out. Since we started that group, we've had no calls. That's a big deal. Zero calls. We went from like every week to 2 weeks. There's a guy to like, I belong somewhere and I'm important and they want me around and I'm valuable. And if I'm going through something, someone wants to help encourage me through it. And we can sit there and train our warriors, each one to go, I believe in you, bro. Yeah. I'll be there for you. I support you. And having men like you and men like me who say, I respect those guys, say, I believe in you, man. You're going to tell me that's not what a man does? That's what the gorilla does.
Sure.
Yeah, it's badass, dude. It's badass what you're doing and being able to have an impact in just like not even half a day, like a half day, and change a dude's life. It's amazing the impact we can have when you just have a guy who you respect encourage you. And so we need to make more. Black box thinking, the collection of alphas who all break off and they all work with their own pack afterwards. Together, we're always stronger, man.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Pretty badass. Do you want to get into any CBD stuff or anything that help guys out with that?
I would just say, you know, CBD was a modality that helped me kind of turn down the noise in my head. Mm-hmm. So that's why I started a company called Naked Warrior Recovery because it had such an impact on my life. Once I got a whole, you know, kind of turned down the noise, I was able to have more positive self-talk. And again, that's why I started Naked Warrior Recovery, where, you know, our mission is 22-0. 22 veterans take their lives every single day. Potentially that number's at 44. My dad is one of those 22. And so it's a very personal mission for me. My phone is full of men, full of brothers that have, you know, will no longer answer the phone. Lots of phone numbers. And so, again, it was just a modality for me. It helped me. Maybe it'll help someone else. We have other products there as well, but see, again, it's not what you feel when you take CBD because you don't feel anything. It's really about what you feel less of. And I guess the way that I can kind of explain it is water boils at 212 degrees. And I was probably living my life at 210 degrees. And after taking CBD, I kind of went from like 210 to 205 to 200 to 195 to 190, maybe 185. I got out of that boiling point and I didn't know it until I stopped taking that first bottle of CBD. And then I started like things that stopped bothering me, started bothering me more again. And I was like, what was that? Maybe the CBD was the thing because I didn't feel anything while I was taking it. And I took another brand. I had very similar results. So that's why I was like, oh, maybe it was. And so really what it did is help me to have a longer fuse. And again, it's a modality. It's a tool. It's not a cure for anything. It was a tool that helped me. Maybe it's a tool that can help other people. I'm happy to give a discount code to anyone's listening. I think the easiest one I know off the top of my head, I think it's CASH, CASH. I think that saves you 25%. Anything at Naked Warrior Recovery. So that's if you want to go, check it out and try it out. Maybe it will work for you, maybe not. But again, you can use a discount code CASH to save 25%. I know, alcohol is a big deal. When I started taking CBD, I started drinking less. And
Yes.
I've actually we have a product that has 5 milligrams of Delta 9 THC, the natural stuff from the plant, not the made up Delta 8 thing. I would never use Delta 8 because it's a synthetic thing, synthetic molecule. I would never use that. And so the thing that has helped me drink 95% less than I've ever drinking in my life was this gummy we call a buzzing gummy that has 5 milligrams of Delta 9 THC and 25 milligrams of CBD. It gives you the same feeling as alcohol, but you don't have the hangover you do the next day. And really what I found was alcohol was the way I was drinking. It was just a habit that I had, and a really terrible habit. Like I like that feeling. I like getting rid of turning down my brain at the end of the day, because my brain just does not turn off. It just keeps going. And so it was something that helped me kind of get there a little bit faster.
Yeah, I think it's awesome because, I'm with you. We do the deep work, but having the tools like that to slow you down so the Hulk isn't hair trigger, it's a good tool. I'm with you. I would recommend, that's not what we do, but I would say coupling with what we do is a good tool to use.
Agreed.
So
Agreed.
Yeah, I endorse that, and I endorse a lot of holistic ways. And so that's pretty awesome, man. And so it's pretty cool to see you doing the levels of work that you do. And we support the 22/44-0. We're working with the guys to make it so they can acclimate. And my goal, and even this is where, I'll be teaming up with you in the future, is when guys get out, or when people get out, even at some point we'll have the women too. When the guys get out of the service, they know where to go. They'll go, yes, now we team up with people like us. And they know there's a place to go where you can reacclimate in a healthy way instead of losing everything in one day.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, and so that's what we're building.
Yes, that transition, there needs to be more people, more opportunities, more places for people to go.
Yeah, let's keep building it. So, man, I'm looking forward to, in the future, we will be sitting on a stage next to each other, because I'll fucking make it if I have to. Because we will build a panel that's there to support our people. And it's going to be an honor to meet you and hang out with you when we do that day. But,
yes,
but man, let's keep fighting the fight. For the guys, we're going to have all the links in the bio for how to get in touch with William. And if you're looking to get in and I want to do one of the things that he does, or meet with him, or be part of his group, or work with him to make it so you have a fighting chance with somebody who you're like, this Navy SEAL badass is my dude, we'll give you all the ways to reach him so you can work with him. So just like always on the battlefield of mind, William, thank you, man. It's been an honor, brother. I really appreciate you coming.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. I appreciate the work that you're doing. And again, thank you for having me on your show here.
Heck yeah.
Click on the button and you can become the hero in your own story. It's time to start making the choices to change. And the evolution that you're going to do begins with choosing the next step. This is the way. And together, we're always stronger.